Welcome to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BeExposedRadio.com. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about business and all that jive. But before I do, don't forget, you can give us a call and you want to join in on the conversation if you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube at 443-642-9403. You can text us or you can call in. And don't forget, if you're looking for a new platform, if you've been thinking about a show, if you have an idea, if you already have a show, you're looking for a new home, hit us up at info@beexposedradio.com and the subject bar, put Nate, I want a show, and we'll help you get on the air and popping. Right now, we're all virtual, so it's very easy. You over there, we over here, and we getting it all together. And also, don't forget the Artist Exchange comes on every Monday and Friday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 right now. So without further ado, today's conversation was birthed because I had a couple shows at the beginning of our quarantine series of the Artist Exchange on business because I noticed a lot of people were starting to add businesses or start fresh businesses or partner and or people were taking advantage of like the pandemic and opening up a brick and mortar restaurant and so on and so forth. And I had a lot of people who, because of the people who I was bringing on, they were asking questions. And I got tired of just filtering all the questions. So I said, let me just host another show or do a couple more shows. And I'll be doing a couple more throughout this because people ask me more specific industry questions. So I'm reaching out to individuals like the restaurant business and the fashion business to come on and answer some of those more specific questions. But my guest today, Miss Erika, she'll be answering some questions in general about business. She'll be talking a lot more about herself as an artist, as an entrepreneur, and as a business owner. And she's going to answer a couple of those questions that a few of my guests have. If you have any questions, again, I'm going to give out the phone number 443-642-9403. I think it's at the bottom of the screen as well on the left side. So today I had an interesting conversation about business, and I had a young lady who started a friend of mine actually. Well, I don't know if she's my friend anymore right now, but she started a her own uh, business making dinners, and she asked me just a couple questions about advertising, and I suggested that she go take her serve safe because, well, that's the really the only thing outside of health code inspections that you will have to have um, and building inspections that you'll have to have. But the most important thing is your serve safe certificate. You need that just like you need your business license. So you need the two of those. Those are the two things that you normally see hanging up in restaurants near like the front door or somewhere near the kitchen or normally by the register, depending on what type of restaurant it is. And I think she just thought I was hating or didn't care. But I suggested that she get the proper serve safe certificate. Right now, there are a number. I teach serve safe, and it wasn't. She didn't have to come to me, but I teach it, and I have my own serve safe. So, but you can go online right now, and there are tons of classes that are already up and running. I'm not really running. I've been doing it for small groups, but I really don't do it as much as I was before. But get your serve safe if you're starting a restaurant. It is very unsafe and against the law actually to start a business out of your kitchen. There are plenty of rules and regulations unless you have a catering business and they're a little bit more lenient and it will behoove you to really move into a more industrial setting so you will be following the proper protocol and procedures to running a restaurant. You're messing with people's stomachs and almost lives because there are a lot of special population people who may be allergic to certain things or not and cross contamination is a real thing. We've all had a case of cross contamination poisoning at some point in our life, whether you left something out too long or it wasn't properly cooked to the right temperature or held at the right temperature, and you get home and you feel a little nauseous. That's on the lesser side of it, but the more severe side of it is food poisoning, and that's a very serious thing. And for somebody like myself who's had to have my stomach pumped because someone didn't do what they were supposed to do or something happened as an accident even in the kitchen, it is not a pleasant feeling, and it's not just a one-time thing. You feel it for a couple days, almost up to a week after having it done, and it's a little gross. It's not necessarily painful as it is very uncomfortable. And if some people can die from food poisoning if you're giving them the wrong cross contamination, whatever. So my thing to you are a lot of these restaurants and especially seafood places, as we are boycotting this gentleman's a lot series of seafood restaurants. A lot of seafood restaurants are popping up, and you can get cross contamination with seafood easier than any other food. Like that's salmonella, not salmonella. I forgot what you call it when it's seafood, but you can get sick from improperly prepared seafood as well. And a lot of these dinners that are coming out of people's home. And it's one thing, I've eaten out of that friend's home, so I know she's a great cook. But it's one thing to have a little dinner party for a couple of your friends versus you feeding people who you never even met. So that's my spiel on that. And I want to now introduce our guest for today, Miss Erika. I don't want to mess up your last name, and I refuse to do so. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Nate, for the opportunity to be on your show. I really do love to talk about business. This is the first time I've ever done it publicly, live broadcast, but I'm excited. My name is Erika Milenkovic. It's Serbian
That wasn't what I was going to say.
Yeah, and my husband is Sasha Milenkovic, and we own a business called Pest Czar. So we are a pest control company. We have been in business since October 2013. So we've made it 7 years, still going strong. Typically, we've seen good growth year after year. The pandemic put a little damper on things, but not too bad because we are considered an essential business, pest control. And I do think it was important what you were saying earlier about doing things right when you are opening a business. We have to have our license, insurance. You have to have general liability, workers' comp insurance, auto insurance. We have certifications, even from third parties that aren't even required. It just helps add legitimacy to your business.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Yes. So as far as opening a business, we started from scratch. That was 7 years ago. We were able to begin out of our home. Pretty much all we needed at the time was a pickup truck that my husband bought, and filling it up with our pest control materials. You can certainly run a pest control business out of your home. Right now, we do have an office in Towson. We have 5 employees, full-time employees, and 3 trucks, maybe actually 4 trucks if you want to talk about Sasha's truck. But yeah, the goal all the time is just to continue growing. We do commercial, residential pest control, as well as termites, bed bugs, mosquitoes, wildlife. And we service restaurants. While we were talking about that topic, we do service restaurants, and it's my understanding that restaurants are required to have pest control, like a pest control contract. I'm not so sure about catering people or that situation, but if you're a legitimate brick and mortar restaurant, you are required to have pest control. That's just part of like health
department. So I asked Erika to come on today because her and her husband took a leap. It's been about 7 years.
Yes.
About 7 years ago. I remember when y'all was first starting up the business. I think y'all was in y'all first year, and just talking about some of the hurdles that come, some of the unexpected things that come, and you all really did your research. And this is a very specialty field, so you had to do a lot of research on um, just how to run a pest control business. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that went into you and your husband researching the business?
Sure. Well, I must say that I really feel like your experience and skills prior to opening the business is what's
Mm-hmm.
really important. Sasha had worked at a larger pest control corporation for about 4 years. And
Mm-hmm.
so he knew what was required. He was trained, he had experience. He knew how to be a pest control technician already. And when you work in a company, you learn a lot about the company while you're there, even though you don't know everything about all the positions. Um, and then for me, I I I have an artist background. I do have a bachelor's degree from Micah. I never expected to end up in pest control, but with the art degree, you still need to survive. I never was able to survive off my art. Maybe if I had tried harder or tried something different, maybe I could have made that happen. But a lot of times, you still need some type of day job, which I was happy to do. I have other skills, administrative skills, customer service skills. So I had plenty of um, experience with scheduling customers. I had worked at center stage in the box office,
Mm-hmm.
talking to customers all day long. And then I had worked at a nonprofit after that, which was actually a really small nonprofit. It only had 5 or 6 employees typically while I worked there. And I actually learned a lot about that type of setting, a small business setting. Even if it's a nonprofit, you're still learning how that works when you have so few people and not all the resources. Um, so our experience was probably the most important thing that we had when we started. Research, definitely. I mean, you do need to learn the basics of what's required to open a business, business license, the insurance really, and you really go in a little bit blind
Yeah.
when you're doing this because we didn't realize the auto insurance would be so expensive, for example. Like the auto insurance for a commercial vehicle, and this is just a pickup truck really, but if you're using it for commercial use, the auto insurance is roughly about the same as your auto payment in
Oh,
our
wow.
experience. Yeah. So because you need $1 million of coverage in like for your vehicles, like
Yeah.
they don't, if you're a business, they want to make sure you have a lot of coverage and that you are properly insured and
Mm.
you're not gonna hurt somebody, or you have to have a lot of insurance.
And a
um,
lot of people don't realize anytime you put commercial in front of a business need or resource or utility, it definitely hikes up the price of anything that you're dealing with.
yes. So as far as some other preparation, I would say we did look into like SBA resources, Chamber of Commerce resources. There was like a free business coach available
Mm-hmm.
at the Chamber of Commerce. Um, right now, during the pandemic, they're still offering, whether it's Baltimore
Mm-hmm.
City or Baltimore County, maybe even some of the other counties, they're still offering some free mentoring and free business coaching. So it's good. It's good to go to those and take advantage of that type of learning and input from those people. But um, I would also say nothing completely prepares you for really, really getting into the business. Like it was suggested to us when we started, um, we went to the business coach and they wanted to see a business plan. And we have a plan, like, the plan is we're gonna do
We're gonna
pest
get
control.
customers, and we're gonna service the customers.
Yeah, of course. Like, that's the plan. Like, we're gonna build it up and we're gonna advertise in a couple ways,
Mhm.
um and but even when we make the plan, it's still a little abstract to us. I mean, we've never
Yeah.
done it before, so we can make the plan and they can give us feedback, but it's still not necessarily, they might not know your industry too well, or I mean, it's still very helpful to do, but it's not real preparation. A lot of times you just have to start the business
Hmm.
and hopefully have some type of support in some way. Like, Sasha had started the business and I continued to work at my job for like 9 months or so. I did not quit my job immediately when he started the business.
Hmm.
Um, you 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 need to have a little bit of a safety net, and then once you feel like things are promising and that you really have learned what you're doing, then okay, maybe I can quit my job and join you with this. Or sometimes if you don't have like a spouse or a family member to help you with just getting by,
Hmm.
then it comes down to you. Like, maybe when you're starting your business, it's kind of, you're starting your business on the side, um, or maybe you're getting funding from Kickstarter if that's the type of business that you're getting into.
Okay.
Um, you need to have something that's a little bit of a backup plan or a safety net before you go all in on the business. It's, the failure rate of businesses, unfortunately, is very high.
Hmm.
Um, so you do have to, not, I mean, you have to believe in yourself a lot, but you do need to think about, is my plan going to work? You've never tested your business plan.
Hmm.
So who is backing you up? Or where are you getting like a little bit of cushion, to survive while you're testing your business? You don't know if it's going to work.
And I notice a lot of people, when they jump into a business, they don't take into consideration what past experience can I bring to this. I see a lot of successful businesses that, one, they started out doing that thing for somebody else and now they're doing it for themselves. It makes it easier, but it doesn't take away all of the hurdles or obstacles in starting your own business. I see a lot of people who don't think about saving money for their personal life as well as for the business. Most times people just save towards the business, or they save towards their personal life, not thinking of all the accidental costs that may come up, like commercial drivers insurance on a car. Like, we don't think about those things because $1 million life insurance policy or policy, I'm quite sure, depending on how many cars you have, will add up eventually. In terms of economic, or I would say more of the planning in terms of your personal, how are we going to be able to balance personal while we're still building up our clientele? What went into the planning process for that?
Yeah, I mean, we always, you do have to believe in yourself. You really do. I'm always gonna say that too, but
Mm-hmm.
you you have to be a little realistic. Luckily, when we started the business, um, I mean, Sasha and I had both, had, we each had incomes prior to starting the business, and no kids prior to starting the business. So we had that in mind, like, oh, we can save some because we're going to need it when we
Right.
start the business. And because we knew that we would have to buy a truck, and so obviously that's one thing you need to save for, but you still need a little bit of cushion, or at least somebody else who can, maybe who you can live with, or someone who's paying the bills somehow or helping you with
Mm-hmm.
your kids. um, I I have seen, um, pest control business owners, or entrepreneurs, I guess, and they're a one-man show. And that is difficult. It's not impossible, but to grow from one man can be really difficult in that industry anyway. Like I did quit my job to help our business, because you have so much to do, and for someone to start from one person, and if they're hustling and then now they need to hire somebody, like, do they even have time to hire somebody? Do they even have money to hire somebody when all you're doing is hustling? So it's like, and I don't necessarily even recommend that you go into business with a spouse or a family member. Actually, a lot of people do not recommend that. And I see that point of view. There are, tough situations when you start working with a business partner or your family member, your spouse. But at the same time, okay, even if they're not working with you on the business, can you have somebody backing you up on, basic living?
Right.
And I was also a major reason I helped him with the business too is, I became a little bit like, you can't pay yourself too much usually when you're starting out. It's really hard to pay yourself a good wage, and then let alone hire someone else at a good wage. So it's kind of like, in the very beginning, we were both willing to eke it out, like barely make it. And you're not going to find that, hiring someone outside. You have to have some type of support.
Yeah.
At least in my situation anyway.
I noticed, well, I've always noticed, and that was advice that I was given, try not to work with family and friends. But I noticed some of the businesses that are family led work out the best, because, you don't necessarily have to pay them, what is standard, and you can get around some of the financial strain of having a payroll when you don't have to pay family, and they're just helping out to get you through. I noticed some of those businesses thrive better because they have a bigger kind of jump start in the business, and a lot of the bottom line costs aren't as big, or they're not paying multiple people. When did you decide to hire on more help, or what went into that decision into hiring more help?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. It was, okay, we started the business October 2013. We hired our first person summer 2015.
Okay.
Summer is usually our busiest season. And that's another thing to think about when you're starting a business. How seasonal is your business? But we hired someone, and we were very naive when we hired someone. We have never hired someone for our own business before, obviously. And I would say our first hire was a hiring mistake. They did not last with us very long. It was actually a little bit disruptive. And they do say, if you make a hiring mistake, it costs you X amount of dollars. Like, there's some, data out there of how much that costs you. I don't know if it was not a devastating hit for us, but it did wake us up to the fact that we need to really figure out our criteria for hiring someone, and we need to really set better expectations as up front. What standards do we have for this employee? Because at first we were just so grateful, I guess, that we had some help, that we were not really, we were being a little loose on our standards for this person.
Right.
And we just wanted, we wanted them to succeed, and we wanted ourselves to succeed. So we really wanted to make it work. But, you do learn things the hard way sometimes. He could not meet like some of the basic standards, and some of the times we were like, oh, maybe we'll work around that. But you can't
It's
always,
costing you.
yeah, you have to, have a different mindset then. But when we hired somebody, we did have, luckily, some cushion of money built up from the business at that time. The workload had just gotten too much for Sasha to do by himself. So it definitely was the right move and the right time to hire somebody, but we hired the wrong person in the beginning. But luckily, I have also learned when you do that, you need to correct that immediately, whether that's, getting them to start meeting the standards, communicating that more, or you need to, unfortunately, start the process of, okay, in 2 weeks, I better see this improvement, or 1 month you have until like we might need to let you go. I mean, you say it in other words sometimes, but that's like the plan that you have in your head. You give them a chance, you give them warnings, and but if it's not working out for you, you don't have any other choice as a business owner but to, you know, you have to keep the good employees. But if there's someone that's not doing what you need, you do need to get rid of them too.
And that's a lot of us implementing what we've learned in other environments. And for me, and as a performance artist, I made it my habit to learn every different detail of the theater and what the different jobs were, because I don't always get the role. So if I don't get the role, I could be the stage manager or the costumer, or but in terms of you opening up your own business, I then know how to hire people. I know what to look for when I'm asking for a lighting tech versus a stage manager. So we sometimes forget to bring those skill sets, even if we watch them, from a different perspective, bring those aspects to budgeting and hiring and firing. It's called the slow hello and the fast goodbye. Like don't let it belabor, just sever ties and keep things moving. But in terms of now running a business in the middle of a pandemic,
Mhm.
some people compared it to, like running a business in the middle of a blizzard or an economic crash. But what happens when all of those elements feel like they're happening to you at once? We had an economic crash, a pandemic, a health crisis. We got some political, social issues going on. How do you then run a business in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah. Um, this, I mean, we are very fortunate as of now, to be considered an essential business.
Mm-hmm.
I really none of us saw this coming. I mean, I can't believe how hard this is on so many small businesses.
Yeah.
It's really devastating to think about hardworking people through no fault of their own just not being able to make it. For us, we were scared at first because we were not we were not sure how many customers we were going to lose. We luckily have a mix of residential and commercial customers, and within that mix, it's still like quite a diverse customer base.
Mm-hmm.
We had restaurants that we service, but that was not like the majority of what we do. So we lost a certain amount of restaurant customers, or at least they say they're pausing their services with us. Maybe they'll come back after the pandemic. But surprisingly, we lost very few residential customers. We really have stayed pretty steady. And luckily for us, with this type of industry, the technicians are going to properties. They're not around each other. Like there's not really a so much a requirement for all of our employees to collaborate together. Like, we're not gathering anyway.
Right. You'll
So
typically just have one person come out unless it's a
yeah,
bigger job.
yeah. So it's nice that our industry was sort of prepared for this in a way, because a lot of times we can service a property just by doing things on the exterior. And then if we do need to go into someone's property, we can wear a mask, they can wear a mask, we can stay 6 feet away. They can leave their own building if they don't want to be around us. It's not impossible to do our work in the pandemic. So luckily, we did not take a very big hit. Um, and this is something I've noticed about pest control anyway, is it's such an in-demand industry, and it's just proving itself again to be a really solid industry where it can survive recessions, and it can survive a lot of things because it's considered an essential business. And I mean, people really do need it. We have plenty of customers in Baltimore. Baltimore in particular has pest problems that we all know of. So we're doing okay.
So at this point, and we're gonna come back to a couple questions that I personally have, but as I said, I wrote down a lot of questions that I had been receiving. So what I was doing was I was working with a lot of these individuals and trying to help them. But I am a business owner, and I work, so I'm not an expert, and I help them as much as I was experienced to. But I had a couple individuals that asked me questions. So I got my handy book here. And the first question, I can't give the people's names, but if any of those people are watching at any point, definitely reach out to Sasha if you think she is an expert in your field, and we'll handle that appropriately. Or you can just message me directly again, and we'll kind of help you research it. I'll help you research it. The first question is, how do you handle how how do you how do you how do you suggest a small business handle? Right now, we're in unemployment, a biggest boom that this country has ever seen. How do you handle those types of situations when someone files for unemployment? Are you because I haven't hired anybody to my business, so I haven't done any of the unemployment insurance. But how do you handle that without getting in trouble?
Sure. Well, prior to this year, we had never had any unemployment claims. People were, either they quit or they were fired by us, which means they're not eligible for unemployment. This year, we did have a couple unemployment claims of people basically not exactly feeling comfortable to work. I mean, for us, I I'm this is another new territory for me. I mean, we use a payroll company to make sure that, everyone's paycheck has their deductions with the payroll taxes, and the unemployment insurance comes out of everyone's paycheck. Um, we do have some unemployment claims right now, and they are receiving unemployment. I, from what I understand, that might make our unemployment insurance rate go up. Like, we as a company eventually might pay higher unemployment insurance. To us, that's not a huge concern, because it was also my understanding that there's going to be some leniency this year for business owners as far as what penalties are happening with the unemployment situation. But this is actually a new area for us also. It's basically, they filed unemployment. We got a letter from the unemployment office saying that there's a claim, and now we're just being notified, like, oh, they're being paid this much a week. And if we wanted to, we could dispute unemployment claims. But for us right now, these particular claims, we're not really going to dispute it. They didn't feel comfortable, and I don't have any evidence that I'm use against them or anything.
It's really unprecedented because you can't really, in this, it's hard to really wiggle. Some businesses have outright disputed it, but thankfully there are businesses like yours who understand people's hesitation, because this is like a mysterious thing that we're going through. So you never know.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of taxes, the next couple questions were about taxes. How do you? I know you having a payroll company, but how do you keep up with your taxes? For example, for me, this was my first year as a complete contracted employee, meaning I was self-employed for a whole year. And I am used to, at the end of the year, doing my taxes. And, if I owe something, it's very minuscule because I have other work. If I'm an artist, it kind of balances out in terms of my claims. But this was my first year, like, getting that getting that lump
Mm-hmm.
sum that I owe, and it really took me aback. And so now I'm having to reorganize up into now July all of my receipts, all of my payouts, all of my income, so I'm not stuck like I was this year with taxes. How have you been able to, or your company been able to keep up with your taxes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is, I feel, a huge blind spot for most people, and
Mm-hmm.
something that you don't really plan for in your business plan. It's when we started the business, we were introduced to a CPA, certified public accountant, tax person. So we thought it was worth it to talk to this person when we started the business, and he kind of let us know how it would work at the end. I think he also kind of monitored our finances quarterly, so that if he saw that something was going to need to be taxed, like, oh, maybe do it incrementally instead of all at the end. But I mean, it's hard for the average person to know how to handle taxes. So it does cost some money to use a CPA, but I think it's worth it. It's most of us don't know anything about that.
Nothing. I'm literally going to YouTube University and speaking with an accountant now. Like, I think it's one of, as a business owner, often your personal taxes are, I'm not gonna say they're easier, but they're pretty cut and dry. But in terms of being an entrepreneur, it can be so hard. Was it hard for you? And that's actually another question as well. Was it hard for you to separate the business expenses and income from your personal income, like in terms of paying yourself or keeping things separate when you were working and you all were starting a business at the same time? How easy or hard was it to separate the finances?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when we first started the business, it was suggested that, okay, you have a credit card that's exclusively for business expenses. And I don't remember at the very beginning if we had a separate, well, yeah, we did have a separate bank account for, if people were writing checks to the business, they wrote the check to our business, it went in a business account, and that money paid, our business expenses. We would write ourselves checks from the business account, and our accountant in the beginning would just kind of monitor that a little bit and like make sure everything's cool. Once you start to have employees, that's when we got a payroll company. I absolutely was not comfortable trying to, gain new skills on how to properly pay people and learn the payroll taxes. I was not going to do that. So payroll company is very useful, and bookkeeping. At first I was trying to, teach myself QuickBooks, which was okay, but I was never on top of it, like on a regular basis. I would always have to go back like 4 months and, enter this. And I wasn't even sure some of the times if I was doing things right. So that is another thing that we did eventually get help with. We do have bookkeeping people and payroll people, and the CPA tax person. Those are actually all three separate things. And the bigger your business gets, the more you need those three: payroll, CPA, and bookkeepers.
And that's, it could be so daunting because you like, all I wanted to do was just, and now you have all of these other components to the business that are just on the financial side of it that can be overwhelming for the individual who just wanted to do this or just wanted to have this. Um, how much, how much now? Because you said you really did not benefit as much from being a visual artist. How much of right now, all the experience that you've had over the last 7 years, are you now thinking about how to now go at it as an artist or figure out that part of who you are?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I've sort of realized, I mean, I always had considered myself a fine artist. I mean, I went to MICA and I was making very large scale abstract installations. And I did get to exhibit my work in quite a few galleries, but I definitely noticed, I don't think anyone would pay for work that they don't know how to install in their own home, or, it's thousands of dollars on top of that. They don't know how to take care of it or transport it. Um, so after being in business, I mean, I have had a few realizations, like, oh, if you want to make art, maybe you do have to make something a little more commercially available or
Mm,
even mass produced. Um, you might think that you're selling out as an artist, or that is not, that's not where you pictured yourself going as an artist. But I feel like if I ever considered getting back into some profitable art world, I would, I mean, you'd probably have to rely a lot on a good um, internet presence, whether you're using Etsy or your own social media. Like, you have to figure out, how are you selling it? That's probably the first question you need to ask. How are people finding you? What is so special about your product? And, how much is it costing? The shipping, the transporting. I had never thought about the logistical side of selling art. But now that I've been in business, I do think that, you have to really think it through from start to finish, as far as um, how are people going to use this in their home?
right.
Because I have most of my art here in my house. Like, no one's gonna buy it. Not the way. I mean, I haven't made a good attempt to find buyers anyway, which may have been something that I should have tried. What buyers would really be interested in something like this? It would have to be, I would think, maybe a commercial property, like a hotel or a hospital or something, might like my large pieces that
Mm.
I have. But you have to think it through.
I'll say, let me see what you're working with, and then let me think around because I've been working with museums lately, and as an artist, that's been um, one of my hurdles in how to then translate what I do to people who I don't necessarily know, and that's more so engagement and just um, connecting other elements to what I do, so it becomes a experience and not just let me go see this art. Do I want to buy it? Yes or no, and then figuring out how to then sell it to people. So I think maybe we could talk and let me see what your artwork. I've seen you like sketch. I don't. It was one day where we were at a mutual friend's house and we were just working on art, and I don't even know how we got to that point, and I don't know what we were creating for. I
I
really don't know, but I saw you creating, and you pretty cool. But I haven't seen your work yet.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that too. And yeah, I think we were all working on some particular format of like a canvas board. And
Oh yeah, yeah, I do remember now. Okay, thanks for reminding me. It was an art show we were doing, and we all had to create our own canvas print. But I'm always amazed at artists um who create, and I feel bad sometimes because I've been that artist that just muscled through, and I have a lot of friends who this is like this not working, and all that schooling like Micah isn't cheap, and it's not easy to matriculate through that Micah, and I can only imagine feeling like you did not do what you intended to do. So I'm always willing to support artists and figuring out how they can maneuver through this because I'm learning it as I'm going along as well. And it's not a fine tuned method, and it really is person to person, and it's just your engagement and how do you engage with an audience. As a business owner overall, a lot of the questions that were kind of similar was what 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 I'm trying to sum a bunch of them up together. What um enjoyment or what fulfillment do you get out of being a business owner when we in a pandemic or you're in a slow season or what keeps you going? What keeps you and your husband going throughout all this?
that is a very good question. Well, both of us love problem solving, and there's a lot of creativity to be had as a business owner. When
Mm-hmm.
when you encounter a problem, um, you might need a new strategy. You might need to um, you know change change your customer service software, or promote somebody, or add duties onto somebody, or look into something new. um, I do really enjoy. I found that books and just seminars, they don't even have to be as fancy as seminars, but to feel like you're constantly growing, and to feel like you are striving for a goal, that is a rewarding aspect of being a business owner, is that you have the opportunity every day to make changes to what you're doing and to overcome whatever problems you're having. um, so what keeps us motivated and encouraged, when we get things right, it's great to see when there's positive results. um, we have a lot of positive reviews online. I think we have a really good reputation. One of our employees has been working with us for 4 years. He was one of our first hires. So after making a hiring mistake, we did, hire a very good person. He's been growing year after year, and it is satisfying to see somebody learning and contributing more to your business. But a lot of encouragement and motivation has to come from your own self. And some of the time you don't have that in you, and you need to look. That's why I like books. It's really strange how I'll just I bought like a little notepad with inspirational quotes, and they used to mean nothing to me, but now I just read into it so deeply, like, how to be happy and
Mm,
like how to reach your goals. Like, you really have to find some way to keep yourself encouraged, because even when, we've been in business 7 years, we're going to make it through this pandemic. We should at all times feel happy and grateful for that. But being a business owner is constantly, trying to push yourself. And there are times, even in good moments, where you do feel discouraged, or you don't know what you're going to do next. So
right.
you do need to have some like outside coaching a little bit, like even if it's free seminars or YouTube videos or books from the library. You have to have some positive new ideas, um, both for your life and for your business. You have to replenish yourself and and get new positive ideas all the time.
Are you where do you see your business in the next 7 years?
Good question. I mean, we always want to grow. So, um, one thing that we had heard is, oh, if you have a pest control business, then in 10 years, it should be $1 million. Like, you should be getting $1 million in revenue per year. So, I think that's possible, maybe. Like, in our 10th year, maybe we can reach $1 million mark. Um, in the next 7 years, that would mean our business would be in business for 14 years. I mean, I just feel like we always want to keep expanding where our reach in Baltimore and the area. Um, we could potentially, start moving into like DC territory if we wanted to.
Mhm.
Um, there's like pest control does have a lot of opportunities and ways to expand. So whether that's just adding more customers, expanding your region, um, even even developing, if we wanted to try something like that, you could consider trying to develop your own like pest control products, or a brand new idea, like can you do little delivery kits with like rodent control devices and like instructions? Do people want that? Like we've seen some companies actually trying that out. So
Okay.
like, can you, this, you can think outside of the box all the time as far as any business goes. So just staying adaptable, and you always have to grow, for your own benefit and for the benefit of the business. You just have to keep thinking of how to add more and get more for your business and your customers.
Is that how you are kind of inserting your creativity into the business? Thinking of different ways to market and brand and product develop?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I I sort of consider myself a versatile individual. I mean, I loved my experience at Micah, and I still make art a little bit anyway for myself. Um, but I've had so much experience in other settings now, that I do enjoy, running a business for its own sake. Sometimes I don't necessarily make the connections of, um, like, oh, me being an artist, because I don't do that much of, I could potentially do some photography for our social media or for our website, or maybe I could have designed the logo, but I don't do that really, because that's not what I did. That's not what I show in galleries, and things like that anyway. So I guess I am a little compartmentalized as far as how I view the business and how I view my art. But I know I have a variety of skills, a variety of experience, and I enjoy um, that. I enjoy planning and problem solving and strategizing. That's always been a part of me anyway, and that's kind of what we do when we're operating a business.
So I'm in my mind thinking like, what? I want to see her work now because I'm thinking of this pandemic has brought out and forced me to be creative in ways that I wasn't always comfortable with being creative, and it's just given me so many different ideas to expand the business. So I'm really thinking about how to grow as an artist and kind of super exceed even what my expectations for my creativity is. So I'll be interested to think like maybe we can do something small as a art uh, collaboration. So I'm always thinking of those things. We're kind of coming to the end of the interview with Erika. So I want to ask, what are your social media? What are your how we find you on social media, your website, all those things?
Sure. Well, we do have a Facebook page for our business. I mean, if you search for Pest Czar, Czar is CZAR, and then our website is pestczar.com. That's pretty much where we're at, really, the website and Facebook. Otherwise, if you wanted to email me for any reason, anybody can email me at Erika, Erika, at pestczar.com. I'm happy to talk to anyone that has additional questions. If anyone, is looking for somebody to talk to outside of the radio show, I mean, I can answer questions if people think I have any knowledge. But
You have plenty of knowledge.
I have some knowledge. I might be able to help a little bit. So yeah, I always feel happy to talk to people that are interested in business. And if you're looking for some type of mentor, I never really thought I could get into some type of mentor status, but I can help. I can guide people if they feel like I have information that they could use.
So this has been an awesome conversation. And the next time you see Erika, we may be talking about our collaboration. You never know in this strange world. I wish you and your husband and your family much success and many blessings. And I know this pandemic is crazy, so we don't know where it's going to take us now. So I really just pray over your family, pray over your business, and make sure that y'all continue to thrive throughout this. And thank you for coming on the show. And you're always welcome to come back whenever you have a tidbit of information you want to share with us.
All right. Well, I so appreciate it, Nate. I'll be praying for you as well. We all need it. And I really thank you, all the listeners there. It's been a really great experience. I hope you got something from it.
Always, always. So go get some mommy time while you got some free time and enjoy your hour of peace.
Thank you. I will do that.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Nate.
So for the next couple minutes, you probably can just log off. It's not
Okay.
going. But thank you all for continuing to support the Artist Exchange. I have to say that first and foremost. If you want to call into the show, 443-642-9403. I wanted to start some type of conversation with businesses because I see everybody has been tagging me and bringing um, bringing me like one of my friends, she does bracelets, so she sent me a couple of bracelets. I have a lot of family members and friends that have started restaurants, or they are expanding their restaurants. They've been asking me to test things out for them. And I'm not here to squash anybody's dream, but I just want to make sure that we're making the best decisions for our businesses as somebody who made plenty of mistakes in terms of starting two separate businesses. Um, I want to be someone who is just offering as much insight and much understanding as we possibly can. And often the financial side is normally the side that we're not prepared for, or we don't prepare enough for. And that's not a general statement, it's just from what I've seen. Um, so, really, and the incident that I brought up earlier, it wasn't to bash her. And we had an extensive conversation afterwards, and I still don't think she got it. And I couldn't help but to be honest, because I don't want to promote a business and you haven't done the proper steps, the processes to get your business um, up and running. I'm all for helping and supporting. I've been supporting a lot. I hope I can write those things off. Monty, can I write those support all those Uber Eats that I've been having? Can I write them off? But I've definitely been supporting. I don't mind
As long as
supporting
you was eating
business.
them while you were working.
I was,
If
I
you were eating
was.
while you
So,
were working, then that's an expense.
so I have to look at every Monday and Friday every time. Okay, I got you. That's 4 months worth of Mondays and Fridays. You know that, right? So cool. But even now that you're online, Mommy,
Mm.
uh, uh, in terms of starting a business, because Be Exposed is a business, whether people believe it or not. Monty has been in business for a number of years. From some of the stuff that me and Erica were talking about right now, can you see this explosion of business? And like, what do you suggest people do to prepare financially versus I got a couple dollars, let me start this business? What do you think or suggest that we would do um, in making it work financially?
Hmm.
Honey's a
One
accountant,
thing
so
that I
I'll let you
always suggest, in what I would always suggest is that you have a sound business plan, meaning that your business plan isn't just for this year. Your business plan needs to be for this year, next year, and probably the 3 years ahead, because you need to think
right,
ahead, even though you're going to be coming up with new ideas and changing your pattern. But it's best to have a business plan that keeps you on a path,
right.
because the
Is it what?
financials, it plays a big role, but you need to
Right.
plan your financials as well, because you need to see when your margins aren't being reached.
But see, as an artist, that it was hard for me to think about those things in
Hmm.
a business plan because when
Hmm.
you are the product,
Hmm.
it's kind of hard to. Well, it was hard for me to plan ahead
But
when you are the
well, let me
product.
change that thing. Not a business plan more per se, because a business plan is important if you're going out for a loan.
Hmm.
More so a goal sheet. You need a goal
Okay.
sheet. What are your goals? What are your
Hmm.
objectives to
Oh,
making your
okay.
business a success? If
Hmm.
you have that written down and you have something to follow along with, and as you
Right.
make your deviations,
Because it can change or
it
grow
will change.
or
It's not can, it will change,
yeah.
because you're going to come into some things that you have on your business plan that you can't quite afford. That's one of the problems. Or you may become into a situation where you have a COVID-19 that happens that's going to take you on another path, like us. Our deviation from the plan is that we're not in studio anymore, but we still got a boatload of rent to pay.
Yeah.
But
But
we are
but
still
some of the
effective,
things
as in
that
we had to
but the
deviate our
crazy thing
plan.
is implementing things that will give you kind of a cushion. Like if we
Hmm.
wasn't doing video, this would be horrible for us.
Right. Exactly.
It
Because
would
then
it,
we would be
it would
completely shut
already be
down.
horrible. Or if
Yeah.
you didn't have any understanding, or if we didn't have the capabilities, it just would be very hard for us to adapt to
Right.
this. I've seen many people that just in 4 months they just haven't opened up their business, whether
Hmm.
it's online, they have a brick and mortar or not. Some people just didn't know what to do. And it
True.
took them a couple months to see other people doing what they would be doing for them to get it started.
Hmm.
So I'm getting a lot of questions as to how we maintaining a station like this. And it's obvious if you look at it, but many people just don't know what to do. And that I think right now we're seeing a lot of clothing businesses pop up A lot of restaurants pop up.
The interesting part about that is that I would not tell anyone in this year. I mean,
In
that is a
terms of you
great
starting your
question.
business?
No. What you said? How are we still maintaining?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's not something I would share right off the front. Not that it's something negative or it wouldn't be
Well,
a
it's
negative
not
situation.
public knowledge.
It's just
Like,
not common knowledge right now, and that's not something that we will be trying to teach right now because this is to our
right,
benefit that we can
right,
continue. And to
right.
share that knowledge is not something that I would do right now.
Yeah, and it's not like for me, I would never share our
Hmm.
company secrets, but it's more so
Yeah, a
people
year
starting
later,
businesses because they see other people doing it
right?
versus is this the business for you? Can you roll with the punches
Hmm.
when
It
it's
just takes
not like this
research
hasn't been
too,
a full time for us because in terms of certain aspects of our business, we haven't been able to do those things because we can't get out.
right?
But we've been able to maintain the fundamental part of our business, which is talk radio and
Hmm.
talk
Right,
talking to each other and guests.
exactly.
But my point was like even to my friend, starting a business because you see other people doing restaurants and everybody is a big field right now. You don't realize what a lot of them had to do. A lot of them had clientele before this. You
Hmm.
know, many of them had brick and mortars before this. So that's why they're able to switch over to a Grubhub or something like that right off the bat. You know, you just
Hmm.
starting something out your kitchen. I'm not saying it won't work because we both know people who are doing catering companies out of their business, out their homes, but they have a quality to their business. I wouldn't
Right.
just start something because you see it working out for everybody else.
But again, like she said, Erica said, there
Hmm.
are downsides. Well, no, that was actually what you said. There are downsides to doing that out of your home,
Mm.
meaning that
Legal
you can't get
downside,
liability insurance out of your home.
right?
So get somebody sick at that point of you doing something in your home, trying to sell meals and stuff like that. You
Yep,
get somebody sick.
yep,
What are you going to do? That's the question. What are you going to
yep.
do? Because you got to pay for them bills. You got to pay for them hospital bills. They might
Hmm.
come at you for damages, and
And
that is
that's what my perspective to her was because I teach the serve say so I know what it takes. It'd be nothing for me to help her pass the
mhm,
test, but you
right.
have to go get the exam, go take the exam, like
Hmm.
because those things you have to have insurance when dealing with food in
Right.
general. This our business is out, you know, you need
But
still need
business
insurance.
period. All businesses should have this the
Yeah.
liability insurance. Period.
Hmm. And I
And
even, you know, since we've been doing the show from home, I had to contact my renter's insurance
all right.
just to make sure my work supplies, like my jewelry stuff, all that stuff is being covered
Hmm.
under my plan because you don't want anything to happen. And, you know, I'm investing in, you know, supplies and jewelry things and new
It's just that
software. But
factor too that that I always tell people that slip on your steps mantra, because that goes
mm,
for your home, it goes for your business. If somebody
right,
slips on your step, you're responsible for their
yeah,
injuries. Period.
yeah.
Whether they're
And
at your
so
house or not.
I understand because in my 20s is when I started both of my businesses, and I didn't really see the significance. Like I started selling jewelry out, you know, from the community center at my college.
Mhm.
So I wasn't thinking about no damn business license or anything like that until it got to a point where, you know, I realized how much was coming in from that and understanding my bills and separating the money from this money and a lot of these things is things that sometimes you just got to sit down. And there are plenty of small business associations in Baltimore
Mhm.
that some of them charge, some are for free, some of them are membership based that you can, you know, go to get the basics of what you're needing. But that financial side will get you into a lot of
Right.
trouble for no reason at all.
I don't know if you heard me, but I was trying to jump in there on that conversation when she was talking about the
Mm.
CPAs and stuff, and I was getting ready to tell her, I was like, "Well, that's his fault because he
What did
works
she say?
directly with an accountant, and it don't make sense that he got all these questions.
Say that again.
That you work directly with an accountant, and
For
you have
me,
all these you. I'm pointing at my screen and pointing at you.
no, what so what had happened was I had a guest on in I think it was like my second show, and we were talking a lot about business.
Mm.
And from that, people started asking me questions as if I was like a top expert.
Mm-hmm.
So I was helping people. But when I know Erika, so when I got her to come on the show, I was like, well, I have these questions that people were asking. Some of them, most of these questions, I've already made the mistake. So it's just me fixing things.
I know we just recently talked about it. That's what's so funny.
Right. So me trying to be not trying to be, because I've been an entrepreneur since I was 23. So me trying to figure those things out, again, like I said, I've always, even with me being an entrepreneur, I always maintain a W-2 job. So when you do that, sometimes the stuff that you're spending over here cancels itself out, so you don't owe anything. So I kept breaking even because I was doing all these shows and getting paid and the jewelry and all those things. A lot of stuff was breaking even because I had the W-2 job and I was balancing.
Right.
But a lot of these things, like working for myself for a whole year with no other types of jobs or, income coming in, I made the money. I was able to replace the regular job, but I didn't know how to figure out the taxes. And I always had a partner who handled those things. And now that I don't have that partner, it's like, oh, you on your own doing this. So now I had to figure that out. But it's a lot of those things that we take for granted. But like starting a brick and mortar, the moment you have a business, that's commercial utilities, that's commercial BGE, commercial, water, commercial, all those things. Like she was saying, the insurance, you have to have a certain level of insurance sometimes, but we don't know that. So that's, you just thinking that all I gotta do is just pay for supplies and, rent, and I'm good. No, baby, you gotta, that BGE at your business ain't gonna be like the business BGE at
You
your
got
home.
payroll tax, especially if you start hiring people. You got payroll tax, and you got your own income tax and
as
sales
much as
tax.
I want help right now, I can't afford it right now. I just can't. And I be like I hire people like on case by case basis, so I'm able to pay people, but just to have somebody on. And she was, when we were talking before, like she's been able to pay her full-time employees throughout all this because they are essential. A jewelry business is not essential. We've made radio essential.
One of the biggest questions that I like to ask people that own businesses is, have you been able to cut yourself a check? Because that's one of the biggest things that employers are not able to do. They're not able to cut themselves a check.
But see, most business owners, they find a way, or they make a way to cut themselves a check.
Right,
but they have one account, or they're just dipping into the business account.
Right, so but see, that's not the legal way to do it. That's the problem. That's why I'll never say that to people. Don't be dipping into the business account to pay for your stuff. Unless you actually wrote yourself a contract saying that.
Yeah.
Because you got to clear up that legality, because you don't want to get audited and they be like, okay, I need to see your bank statements. And then all your bank statements say you took out $200 here, you took out $200 here, but you never reported that back saying this is for this.
I remember having a business, and that's how I knew Jana was my best friend. Because I made the mistake. I had an account. I had a personal account and a business account at the same bank, which is a mistake. Don't do that. Start a business account somewhere else, or start your personal account somewhere else. But I went to New Orleans one Christmas, and I took the business card versus my personal card. And I was swiping, just the swiping and the swiping and swipe it away. Now I had enough to be able to carry it over, but I was just a swiper and did not think
that you were in the
wrong account. And when I realized it, I was like, oh yeah, I can, I'm good. The bank put a hold to it because you on a business account
and it's not used to having that kind of activity.
Right. So I didn't, and that's how I found out that I was, because I didn't even, the cards were the same. It wasn't like one looked like a business card or not, but I was just a swiping, and when they cut the card off, that's how I realized it. And I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do? I was like, oh, I'll just pay it back. And I remember Janet chewing me out like, this is the business account. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to justify every one of those purchases now.
Right.
Even if you put the money back in, now where's that money coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that money being put into place? And I was like, man, this is too much. It was too much. But if you want to be a business owner, a lot of the checks and balances, things that you got to figure out, you got to sacrifice. You may be broke as hell in your personal life and got a couple million overhead. You cannot just write a arbitrary check to yourself. Like, you cannot. Those are things that I had to learn the hard way. I knew how to make money. I was not, and I'm getting out of the phase of not being good at spending money. But I'm not. I know how to make it, but I had to learn, and I didn't have money at that time. Well, actually, I did. I should have said something then. That was the last time I went to New Orleans. I was just a swiping, but again,
you could have wrote yourself. I mean, just in case anybody else is going through that, and they are, they want to replace that money that they mistakenly taken out. You can.
They did this stole. You can say
right. That yeah. That's called misuse of funds. It is called misuse of funds. But what you could have done is wrote in to remedy it, because you knew you made a mistake, so it was a mistake. Mm-hmm. So what you could have done is written yourself an expense report and reported those funds back in, that you're going to reimburse them back in.
Okay,
and that's how you clear up
but
that.
See, those things are now, as we're talking to, you have to even if you can't afford, accountant to be on your payroll. There are small business associations, and there are credit clinics and places that artists can go to for free legal advice, and that's one of the services that they offer. Also, accountant.
And just because you don't see the tax preparers out all year round, they are still working. And if you just look up a tax preparer or a tax accountant, that sometimes they'll do free consultations, and you can ask them questions or something like that. And some of them have plans where just because you can't pay their fee monthly for them to do your books, you can get a $15 a month plan where they'll take a look at your finished books that you have come up with and tell you what you've done wrong.
And don't simply, until you get the hang of it, don't rely on a lot of these apps and softwares, because the software is built to just give you an answer.
And the reason, I'm glad you said software, because the reason why I said that, QuickBooks actually has consultants on staff. So when you get a QuickBooks product and you actually buy the product and not take somebody else's license, you can actually use their services, and they'll charge you a small fee.
Yeah. So that's
taxes like that too.
That I did this time, because when I did my taxes on my own, I'm never doing that again. I'm just not. Maybe I'm gonna pay money to do my taxes, but I'm not.
And just in case you want a free resource, Credit Karma, they offer free tax advice as well while you're doing your tax, because they have a tax service too, and it's free. You can do your taxes through that, and it's free. And they have actually tax advice, a tax advice line while you're doing your taxes, or if you have questions and stuff like that, you can go.
Well, the business side, certain parts of it is free. But if you want to do your federal taxes, that's when they start charging you.
That must have changed, because it's always been free.
Well,
they're not supposed to charge because they're a nonprofit.
Credit Karma is free.
Oh, okay, right.
Some of the financial services.
Oh no, yes, you. If you're calling them and you need questions asked, you will have to pay something, because that's a
why
service.
I said don't rely on these softwares until you get a hang of it, because most times they're free up until a certain point.
Right. That's why I mentioned QuickBooks, because QuickBooks, once you purchase the product, you do have access to support. It does cost, but you have access to support, and you can ask them questions.
Yeah. So that's what I am working with now. I did the QuickBooks because I got a free trial, and as I'm inputting all the expenses, I'm trying to I should just do this for the year. It's a lot cheaper than me having to get that big lump sum fee at the end of the year. And it's bill. And it's the tax people, they don't care. They don't care if you on your deathbed, they want their money.
Right. And that, which is
they
why
want
it's
it.
great to get familiar with your tax person, because then they will
Yeah.
care. They'll stop you in advance. They'll
Mm,
tell you that you're doing something wrong. They'll tell you
right.
that your tax payment is late. That's why I said it's a bunch of accountants out there that will take the time and give you a plan and help you with a
Mm,
plan, and then they'll charge you a monthly fee where they'll tell
trying
you
to
your
maintain
tax
it.
bill is getting ready to come due. Can we go ahead? Can we go ahead and get this filed? Your payrolls is taxes due. Can I go ahead and get your 941 prepared for you? They offer those kind of services where you don't have to pay uh, that fee to have
Mm,
them on staff, basically. But you can have
yeah.
a plan
Mm,
because they got to survive too. A lot of accountants don't work every single day.
right. And if you like what I found was somebody who is willing to work with me now. So we're
Hmm.
bartering some partially, and then I'm paying for the rest. But it's really significant because now that I'm, not as 20 something anymore, I'm I'm thinking about, like I want to move. I'm
Hmm.
I'm researching Canada and stuff, and I want to move, and I'm thinking, am I going to get another job to be able to
Canada too
jump
cold for
like
me.
this, or I'm trying to figure things out financially before I get to as old as Monty is.
I mean, I'm not going to move from here to move to Canada. The temperature is worse. I mean, the climate is worse. Like, why would you move somewhere out from somewhere that gets cold to somewhere that gets colder?
I don't
Yeah.
mind cold. I don't, especially if I can
That's too
work
many clothes. I can't.
remotely. I don't mind cold. I really don't. I take cold over hot any day. I really do. Like I,
See,
this
I like
pandemic
hot
happened
with
at a perfect
AC,
time.
so I'm good. I like hot with AC.
I don't like sweating, so that ain't gonna work for me. I
Well,
don't
I'm
like
not sweating in the
sweating.
AC, hopefully.
That's why that has been my biggest hesitation with New York because when New York is cold, it's cold. When it's
Right.
hot, it is
It's hot
hell.
because it's humid and all them steam vents.
Yes, and I can't do that. And Canada, where I'm looking at Toronto and Quebec, they have seasonal, but it's cold more than it's hot. But I can deal with
Vancouver is
cold
nice too. I love Vancouver.
as long as it's not like blizzard every day. I can deal with
I don't
it.
know what it does. I mean, because that's over top of Washington, so it might blizzard up there in Vancouver.
Yeah,
But you got access to You got access to The reason why I say Vancouver because you have access to Washington and California from there,
yeah.
and that's a
So that's why I was looking either my entryway on the West Coast
mhm.
or my entryway through New York. So that's where I was kind of balanced. Like if I stay in that part of Canada, then I can get to New York in a couple hours versus staying somewhere where I don't. And I've really been looking at out of country. I've been looking at mobile homes, tiny mobile homes. Like I really want to. I've I basically have lived in my room for 4 months now, and it's not really bad. I walk over to the bathroom, I walk over to the kitchen, and then I'm back in my room. So I think I can survive like that. I'm thinking I found a couple like they have tiny home hotels.
Mhm.
So I've researched a couple of them, and once this kind of gets under some type of control, I am going to go visit um, those places and want to do it. So when you see me
Here's hoping
driving
we get
by,
under
that's my
control.
home. That's gonna be my home that I'm driving by. When you see me,
Here's hoping we can get under control because.
I think once we get Trump out, we'll
As I
get
say,
it
they're
under
gonna get under
control.
control until January 20th. That's all I know.
That's what I'm saying. But and that's because we're already at basically the month 7 is over.
Hmm. That's what I
So
say. Here's what I hope happens. Once Biden is declared the winner,
yeah,
fingers crossed, on November the 3rd. Once he's declared the winner on November the 3rd, that he just takes off running. I'm in government now. I'm going to start making this
I
happen.
mean, I hope and I hope throughout this, him and his team are doing that,
Hmm.
like creating that re-entry strategy for
Hmm.
us because he I mean, he's going to have a lot of support. He's going to have Obama.
Mhm.
He's going to have Bush, because Bush is even voting for Biden.
Yeah, he got
Bush
all the
is coming
past
out.
presidents, all the living past
Yeah,
presidents.
so he's going to have a lot of support in that. I mean, if he need to get him a job, get their asses a job.
Carter, you got Carter,
Yeah.
Bush, and Obama, all the
Yeah.
living past presidents,
I was
and
shocked that
Clinton.
Bush came out publicly and say who he was voting for, but if Bush is coming out saying that, then we definitely need to get it back in order or something. But
Hogan actually virtually said it too. He was beating around the bush, but he virtually said it too when he was on State of the Union yesterday. Hogan. He wouldn't come out and say it, but he was like, well, when you start beating around the bush, we already know what your decision is. I have a problem
with that. My problem with these senators and like, why can't you just say you don't want him there no more? It's not going to ruin anything.
Not at this point. Like, what do you have to lose, really, at this point? You already wrote a book about him talking about what the bad job he did. So why wouldn't you just, come on out and say it now at this point? We don't care for you. We're not going to vote for you ever. So,
right. So cut that out.
Right.
But you're making it. I mean, out loud.
I think you're going to be. Is this his second term? This is his second term, isn't it? Didn't he win again?
Yeah, he did.
This is his second term. I can't even remember who was the governor before him.
We did that before, and we could not think about.
I can't even remember who the governor was before him.
Wasn't it? You said it was Ehrlich, right?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
We did. We went through.
I remember us going through this, and I just can't. I thought
it was Ehrlich.
No, it wasn't a Republican. It was a Democrat before him.
It was?
I just can't remember who.
I mean, the other man that ran for president, I can't even remember his name. The one that was there was Sheila Dixon and Stephanie.
It was O'Malley. O'Malley was before
O'Malley.
him. Yeah.
O'Malley was before him?
Yeah. 2007.
So Ehrlich was mayor then.
Ehrlich was mayor from 2003 to 2007.
Okay.
I mean, he was governor from 2003 to 2007, and O'Malley is 2007 to 2015. So this is his first term. I don't know if he'll be elected for a second.
This is his second term.
This is first.
You sure?
Yeah, 4 years. He was elected in 2015.
Oh, he replaced O'Malley.
He was elected the same year. Asshole was elected.
No, that's his second term because he was mayor before that.
Who? No, governor.
I mean, he was governor before that.
Who? Who are you talking
about?
Hogan has been governor since 2015. This is his first term.
So did he replace him?
Did he replace who?
Didn't he replace O'Malley?
No, O'Malley ended. His term was up. That's when he started running for president.
This is confusing. That's a lie.
O'Malley started running for president in 2015 as his term was coming to an end. You only get 2 terms as governor in Maryland. So.
But I could have sworn this was his second term, though.
Nope. First. I thought it was the second, too. It feels like it.
I don't like this. It's just between social. I mean, and I don't know if.
Yes, I remember because he became governor. And now, I can remind you, he became governor right when Freddie Gray happened.
Okay. For some reason, I could have sworn when Trump was coming in, that was his second term.
No, he was already in office when Trump came in. He had started his term in 2015.
Maybe that's why I'm thinking that was his second term.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I'm thinking that. But yeah, I need a change. Like, I don't know how true this story is about Social Security, him wanting to wipe it out. The fact that you cut off the CDC's connection to these hospitals and getting the numbers out. Stuff like that. And people are now afraid that he's not going to want to leave office if he loses, when he loses.
He actually said it. He said he'll decide then. But I don't think the problem with that scenario is I don't think Secret Service was staying for it.
Yeah. So you said
No,
they're going to evict him?
that's their job. Their job is to escort the outgoing president out and to escort the new president in.
I can see them pulling his arms. Oh,
I can see them dragging him. Like, yeah,
Yes.
sorry, sir, but you have to go. Because they still have to serve, he still gets a detail after you're president. Because you're now a former president.
And you just see Melania walking out like this.
She already gonna be gone. That chick ain't staying. She knows she leaves. She's out. And the divorce papers probably gonna be sitting on the desk when she leaves.
Right. She probably already got them right now.
I know she got them. I know she has them. She's ready.
She's waiting for election day.
She said, I've got my complete term as first lady. I'm good. I'm out. That's it.
But I think she's been contracted to be his wife. I don't.
He bought her. Like it's not even a contract no more. He bought her from Shacksville or whatever.
Right. I just need people to even if you're a Republican at this point, I need the truth to come out. I need for you to be truthful, to be honest, to be a citizen of this country and realize this man is ruining our relationship with every foreign country, with every international organization. It's across the board.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way we can maintain another 4 years with him.
Mm.
We will all be working in sweatshops
Mm-hmm.
if he wins this year. And we really have to figure out how to get by. But this has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show, and I don't know how I got to this point, but we'll be back on Friday at 5 p.m. the same time on Friday with our His Story series with myself and Curtis Gorham. Check him out on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. He has a single coming out, New Vibrations. So definitely check him out. And just pray. Make sure you get your ballot information, all that stuff taken care of, so there's no whammies come November, and we can just smoothly just get him out of this course. So this has been another edition of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Possibly tomorrow we'll have Talk Lately with Marnie. I don't know how that's gonna be, but yeah, peace out.
You might as well let July go.